Hello. Today we are joined with Martin Sharkey, CEO and founder of CloudKubed. How are you today, Martin?
I'm really good, David. Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to having a chat about what we're up to in the community.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for spending the time to talk to us today. I thought it'd be a great way to kick us off if you could share a little bit about what it is that you do and what services that your business offers. If that's okay.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, so CloudKubed is, I guess we're an IT consultancy. We've been specializing more recently in data services, data platforms, but largely what we do is strategy, design, architecture, typically for, I guess, some of the larger government departments. We get some specialist service as well and research. So yeah, data. We get trusted research environment work that's going on, so that's moving more and more into the cloud, looking to protect the vital information that's created, generated, and consumed by researchers. So we partner with some of the big technology providers to enable this work to happen. One of our unique customers that we're working with currently is Imperial College London. Building their strategic cloud research platform for them, which is due to get released early this year. So, yeah, really, really exciting work. Puts CloudKubed very much in the tech for good category, which is looking to build services that have a positive impact in society, and can also provide solutions that enable that positive impact to happen around healthcare, around central government services, and around research.
Okay. I just imagine it's a really busy space at the moment with cybersecurity and migrating across to cloud and protecting that data and things like that. Maybe we'll touch on that in a second. How long have you guys been running for now?
Well, we formally as a limited company formed on Star Wars Day, so May the 4th.
Okay.
We haven't done a proper Star Wars themed.
Was that intentional?
It wasn't intentional, but given I'm a Star Wars fan, it probably was a subconscious thing that happened.
Very cool.
But it's been quite cool. So 4th of May 2021 we formed. So we'll be 3 years effectively this year, which is quite interesting. We've grown from a small band of 3 to 4 people in that space of time to, I think I've got 86 people on the books
Wow.
today. So we've gone through exceptional growth. We have just had a report from Tussle and Tech UK launched last week, and I think we hit number 56 in the top 200 fastest growing tech companies in the UK, and with a growth of something like 227%. So yeah, we've done amazingly well for a startup organization. I think I've got to a point where I'm not really supposed to be calling us a startup given our size and scale. We're probably more a scale-up organization at this point, but we're extremely proud of where we've got to. And again, only possible with the amazing people that we got leading the company and the individuals that we got with all of the experience they bring for the customers that we're working with as well.
That's some really amazing growth, and sort of we'll talk about the team maybe in a little bit more detail in a second, but in terms of sort of attracting talent and getting the right people into the organization. If you had an opportunity to sort of go back to before starting up and sort of reflect before you embarked on this journey, would you do anything differently? Is there anything you'd change?
Really interesting, David. So CloudKubed was sort of started as a hobby to begin with,
Okay.
and it was almost so. I've been a long-term IT contractor, worked on some of the biggest digital transformation programs the UK's seen in the last decade. So I've been involved in three of the largest migrations in central government. And as a chief architect, that's really the role I would have led. So I'm very technology driven. I am a deep technologist and really passionate about it. Um, so when we started CloudCubed up, it was more about how we can enable software development at speed in the cloud. And that was something that was quite interesting at the time, but it didn't. It's something that a lot of organizations were really worried about doing. So what happened is that just naturally, all of my previous experience sort of moved into CloudCubed. I was CTO at Imperial College London at the time during the
Yeah.
pandemic. So this is almost like a side business that I was building in parallel, getting it established, getting the branding in place for it. So it just happened naturally. And would I do anything different? I don't think so because I'm not sure I would have had the good fortune for it to develop the way it has currently developed. Had I not have taken it um, in the sense of a project and a nature that we sort of directed it towards. So I'm not really sure if I had structured it in a very structured way or a very rigid way that it would have been the company that it is currently.
Yeah.
And what we've managed to do is we've managed to grow it in a very slow and methodical way that has enabled the culture that we fostered to almost percolate across the organization, which is a really cool culture. You know, we talk to our customers and they talk about the Cloud Cubed experience that they get with us. And I don't really know what that is, but we're trying to bottle the essence of it somehow within the business and understand what that is. And as soon as I put my finger on it, I'll tell you what it is and how
Bottle it and sell it.
we bottle it. But we are told continuously both within the company and externally outside of the company that there is something unique that we bring. And I think it's because we're very customer orientated. We're
Okay.
not in just to turn a buck. We're in because we actually believe in what we're doing. I think that's why I'm so wedded to the tech for good category that we would fall into. You know, hence the reason why we're going after our B Corp certifications. And we've just been awarded a Great Place to Work award as well, which is phenomenal for us.
Very good. Yeah, very good. It's an interesting comment you made about slow and methodical growth, because on the outside looking in, looking at those stats that you said about the, 3 to 4 people up to 86 over 3 year, from the outside, that looks like rapid growth. And sometimes rapid growth can be a real struggle for businesses, not having sustainable growth and it becoming too much. Just talk to me a little bit more about the structure in terms of how you had that control over the growth without it becoming too much.
Um, I guess firstly, what I would say is that it's all about perception.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is that I mentioned those major transformation programs I've been involved in. I mean, these are in the hundreds of millions of pounds, each one of the programs. So whenever you get involved in something like this, mythology is something that you do very, very quickly. So we have to build a methodology to try and deliver something really, really fast. You have to scale a program up very, very quickly to, from 50 people to 100 people to 300 people. And that happens within a period of 3 to 6 months normally. So when I say that we've had slow growth, it's probably much faster than most people would experience it. But for me, it's quite slow.
Right.
So what I've done is I've almost treated CloudKubed as a major program, and I've thought of it in that way that I structure it in a way that I would typically structure a program and wrap a methodology around it. So we created this thing called the Digital Acceleration Framework, which was born in 2011 when I migrated a major border control system, and then I was chief architect for the DWP, enhanced that methodology, looked at how we could save them operational costs, significant operational costs, and then I brought it into an engagement with HMRC then later on, which was really about rapid build of a data center to
Okay.
the migration piece. So for me, the slow element of Cloud Cubed is probably much faster than anyone else would experience, but I think it's just because I know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
It's stuff that I'm used to. It doesn't scare me. I always use this statement about being fearless but not reckless, and
Yeah.
that comes from a place of experience and knowledge, knowing that you can grow quite rapidly if you get the right controls around it. But obviously, you get to a point where you have to devolve control to other people within the business and empower people to take that thing that you do best and own it themselves and be accountable for it. So, we're now at this point where we're looking to solidify the growth that we've got, bring senior leaders in to make sure that that is consistent and it's to set all of the knowledge and the ways that these new ways of working that we got are disseminated properly across the organization with process. So yeah, it's not that scary really. And yes, from the outside it looks like there has been rapid growth, which there absolutely has been, but in my mind it's not that rapid. I would
Okay.
probably go faster if I could.
Well, I'm picking up from that you've got the methodology is a sort of structure, it's a system, it's a framework that you work to. Is that, if I pick that up right?
Yeah, we have a thing called the digital acceleration framework that we use with our customers to look at how we manage the life cycle of an engagement. It has plan, discover, design, build, test, migrate, and operate, and they
Yeah.
allow us to have a sense of control around how we engage with the customers, that we can accelerate our engagement with them, but equally taking that digital acceleration framework back into CloudCubed and looking at how we can apply that across all of our own people process and technology, because it's not, it's not that you just go out to a business and you apply a methodology and then everything's chaos in your own business. You have to make sure you bring those controls back into your
Yes.
own business as well.
Yeah, it's very true. And like those systems and things, again, a lot of SMEs will typically have the expertise and the knowledge up in their heads and will be good
Mm.
at doing what they're doing and, building systems into the organization that other people can pick up, adapt, follow, and things like that. It's really, really powerful way of growing. Because let's face it, people will come and go from the organization, won't they? With the
Yeah.
systems you build can stay with the company forever, really.
Absolutely. And what you just touched on, people will come and people will go. They're probably the single most biggest risk to any growing SME, because
Mm.
what you've got is you get this large body of knowledge and experience and even relationships that they develop with customers when you're at that point of growth. And for me, that's where the business resiliency needs to happen. So when we're looking at planning our strategy, which we're actually in the middle of writing at the minute, our 24 to 26 strategy, that business resilience is critically important. So if I do say 20 things that really, really well, I want to make sure I've got business resilience built into CloudKube that allows me to take one or two of those things that I do really well and get someone who can do them so much better than me, take those and own them. But even at that, you've got a single point of failure again. So I've taken it from me being a single point of failure for 20 things, for
Yeah.
someone else being a single point of failure for the two things that they can do better than me. So even looking at that, we need to look at diversity within the business to make that process resilient as well. So there's always an iteration that happens within the business that builds on resiliency and resiliency and resiliency, so you get to a point where you can scale rapidly without breaking everything and breaking people inside the business as well, which is also super important.
Yeah, it's really good advice in terms of having that methodology, even when you start up with two or three people, because a lot of companies think, oh, that's only for the big companies, that sort of strategy, that long-term vision, those systems, it's only for the big companies, but it enables you to grow rapidly in a slow and methodical way.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
think about the team members then. So during that journey of growth within the team, what sort of qualities are you looking for the people that come in, the people around you, and how do you create that productive working environment?
Um, so for me, one of the most important things is what I'm interested in is what's inside someone's head.
Okay.
Um, I don't care what. I mean, obviously, I clearly care what kind of background people come from, but what's interesting for me is making sure that that person can understand my vision, can articulate that and communicate that to their teams, can understand it and can go and implement and execute on it. So for me, I expect the bar to be raised above me, and I'm not precious about people being smarter or more intelligent than me. In fact, that's a blessing within the business because it
Yeah.
means I don't have to do the complex thinking about it. So when I think about what I'm looking for as an individual within CloudKube, I want them to be a lot better than me or the next person doing the job for that specific thing. They don't have to be an amazing all-rounder. They just have to be amazing at what we've asked them to do. And it's all about raising the bar. I took a small stint within AWS. I went in there as a principal within AWS's ProServe organization, stayed for 5 months. AWS is an amazing organization to work for, but it wasn't right for me. It didn't enable me to I guess have the wide berth of control that I would typically have across a customer. But one thing that resonated with me massively is the leadership principles that Jeff Bezos brought into Amazon. And when I looked at them initially, I thought, these are just crazy principles. They just are a bit wacky. But whenever I looked at them more closely, I realized that out of those 14 principles, these are things that I lived and breathed every single day. These are the things
Right.
that I held myself to account on when I spoke to customer, when I delivered an outcome, and it's just, build trust, disagree and commit. The things that you just value as a professional going into business. So we brought these values into CloudKubed as well. We've made them our own. We've got 10 values instead of 14 values. And those values are things that we weave into the fabric of the organization, that we measure our people against, that we raise our bar against. I've brought up one of the bar raisers in from AWS to help consulting with us as well, to make sure that we sort of permeate this across the entire organization. So we do have really highly experienced individuals who are the best at what they do for that specific thing that they actually do for us. So that's really what we're trying to drive in CloudKubed. And we just want to make sure that we have the best internal experience as a business, but equally that our customers experience that same degree of intellectual caliber that we bring with them as well, plus the ability to go and deliver amazing outcomes for them.
Yeah, it's sounds like you've got a really clear vision and a clear idea of how people then will understand and communicate your clear vision, very clear set of values and cultures and things and fostering that buy-in and that sense of purpose with the team, but giving them the freedom and the space to be creative and take a bit of risks and push the boundaries a bit. Really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. So the cloud space, internet space, cyber security space, it's probably a really, really busy. But what's that look like at the moment? Where do you think that's going over the next few years?
I mean, it's really funny if I take myself back to 2011, when cloud was in its infancy. It was only sort of really born in around 2006, whenever AWS decided that they would almost outsource their internal processes that they built in their own cloud stack to the world and make them publicly available. And around 2011, I was involved in a big migration program. I remember an advocate within central government, a guy called Liam Maxwell, actually. He held quite a senior role in government digital services, saying that in the next 10 years, all of these services will be in cloud. And I remember thinking that that's just a bit crazy. There's no way we'll get these kinds of things, but that has happened. And even though it's almost an anti-pattern for someone who grew up as an engineer, you grew up, you were hands-on doing engineering stuff, and then all of a sudden the cloud comes along and creates an abstraction layer that makes it more accessible to non-engineers, but almost does engineers out of work. So there's been a point where there's been a cultural mindset shift for adoption of the cloud that's been happening over the last decade, and people have been realizing and waking up and going, well, I actually need to go and reskill myself and learn new skills. We've also then had the kickback from the security communities, from the cyber communities, to say, oh, well, the cloud's a bit dangerous and we'd rather protect our assets on premise because we know that we can touch them and stroke them and love them and hug them, and
Yeah.
no one's ever going to touch them. But that mindset has been massively overturned as well, because I think that mindset was fostered through lack of understanding of cloud security. And what we realized quite quickly is that the posture of the cloud is actually highly secure. The implementation of it is highly secure. It's just making sure that you get the right people and processes wrapped around it to make sure that no one blows a hole in the side of a firewall. But that shift has definitely led to a greater adoption of the cloud. The stuff that we're doing in the research space is quite interesting, because when we were working with one of our other customers, DWP, we talked about democratizing technology for engineering. And that really takes the cloud infrastructure, the security that wraps around it, and the process and time by which you would deploy a massive enterprise cloud service, and drops that down into something that can be done in days or weeks. Whereas previously we'd be doing this in months and years.
Yeah.
Things like Landing Zone Accelerator that AWS have. But in the research space, we've been working really closely with Microsoft. We've got a really strategic partner with Microsoft, and we've been talking about democratizing technology for research in that space. And what that's done is it's enabled a researcher that previously wanted to use the cloud. They've gone and had to build this really complex set of infrastructure services and applications and security services and networking services. And that's taken an awful lot of skills. It's almost got the researcher to the point where they've had to be an engineer, a software developer, a researcher, and a data analyst all in one, as well as many other different things around commercial and finance. And the technologies we're using with Microsoft, it's a thing called Azure TRE. It literally takes the process of doing all that complex engineering, looking at the cybersecurity, and wraps it up into a solution whereby they can click a button and gain access to almost an instantly accessible research platform that has all of the airlock features that enables a research to begin really highly sensitive research, but also control and audit the way that that research data comes into the environment and goes out of the environment. So we're trying in CloudKubed to make sure that we can create that abstraction layer, make it easy for people to access the cloud services that we got, make them more accessible, lower that barrier to entry, and that's what we're doing right now. You know, we've been doing that with Imperial. And they're seeing the massive benefits of being able to run small projects, big projects, scale that up, how they align that with their strategy as well. So it's a really, really interesting space. And if we can weave more security controls into these environments and these services, it just makes them much more accessible and creates a much more robust security posture around these capabilities as well.
Yeah, having awareness of technology is a big part of it, isn't it? To challenge our limiting beliefs around what we believe to be hold true at the moment, and
Yeah.
actually where it is going, and what how different. Like you say, touch and feel something was kind of like traditionally, yeah, I want to be able to get my hands around it. Whereas the
Hmm.
cloud, it's kind of you can't tangibly touch it. So that awareness piece is really important. There's a saying that I picked up quite a few years ago. I can't remember where it's from now, but today is the slowest day of change for the rest of your life. The world changes, but it's changing quicker than ever, and every day it's going to get quicker and quicker again. Really
Absolutely.
interesting. Where do you see? Where do you see? The thing about change. So you've had great growth going forward. Next 5 years, where do you see CloudKubes, and where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What's that look like?
Where do we see ourselves in the next 5 years? So if you asked me that two years ago, my answer to that question would be that CloudKubed would be a company that was at least 100 people in 5 years' time, had a significant customer base that was within academia and the public sector. But we've outstripped that growth massively already. So I think within Q1 of this year, we're probably going to exceed that 100-person threshold. This year, I expect CloudKube to be global. We've already had two international customers in our sort of earlier times. But for me, the thing that will change us this year will our growth in the trusted research environment space. So this really speaks to academia. Um, and I expect that within the next 12 months or the next 10 months that we will branch out into global universities and research institutes across the world. That may require us to build a global presence in those regions. And that's fine because that's exactly what I want to do. But equally, this trusted research environment work isn't just limited to academia. It's also it's also one of the most fundamental technologies that's used within the NHS currently for the National Research Strategy.
Okay.
So they have built a program called Data for Research and Development, which is looking to build a centralized data research platform across all four nations. So England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, they will have a centralized research repository, and they'll have a subnational model, which is around 14 different subnational models. The combined technology is based around AWS and Microsoft, and CloudKubed are the de facto experts in the subnational pattern, which is
Wow.
as a TRE. So I expect us to grow not only in academia, but also in healthcare. I expect that growth to be in healthcare and looking at Europe and the States and possibly even Canada as well. There's conversations we've had with Canada, but I expect once this product matures, that will be a really highly sought after solution for cloud-based research.
Really exciting. It sounds. Well, I've no doubt that you're going to continue to go from strength to strength. It'll be really interesting to watch the future unfold and see that positive impact coming through over the years. Really, really nice to talk to you. Is there a question that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you that you'd like to share with the community?
I don't think so, David. I mean, it's a really exciting time for CloudKubed. We're really wedded to building a tech hub in
Yeah.
Oxfordshire. So for me, I want to build something I can be proud of that could effectively be a legacy for me and CloudKubed in the future as well. We started in Whitney. We've got a strategy which initially started with a tech hub in West Oxfordshire. I mentioned Tech for Good earlier on, but we want to tap into different types of communities from different ethnicities, different backgrounds, having conversations with people who represent ex-forces, people from disadvantaged communities. We've got county lines all around us, and there's kids that we could take off the streets that could maybe take advantage of learning from this. So
Yeah.
I want to reach out to some of the universities locally, Abingdon Whitney College, to see whether I can look at building programs around how we can get the kids and prepare them to come in and look at STEM programs, looking at women in technology, all of the different programs. We've just appointed an amazing Chief People Officer, Natalie Smith, and that she's going to look at how we can branch into these different areas. But I want to be a force for good in the area, and I really want to establish the brand and put Whitney on the map for being a technology hub.
Love that. I think that's a great mission to be on. Really good. So where would our listeners go to find you if they wanted to find out a bit more about what you're doing, where you're going, CloudKubes and things like that? Where would they find you?
Well, we've got our website, so we got www.cloudkube.com. I guess the compound name is Cloud and Cube based on the technology Kubernetes, which is effectively around Helm charts. So CloudKube, cube spelled with a K.
Yeah.
Academics do not like that because it's spelled wrong, of course. And it's also a bit off-putting whenever we're trying to tell people what our email addresses is. So it's CloudKubed, cube spelled with a K.com. So you can come there. They can submit requests for further information. They can drop us a note at info@cloudkube.com as well. Or they can ring the office number and just see if they can get passed through to someone to talk to us. But by all means, we've got a LinkedIn presence as well. So go and follow the company. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn also. We've got an Azure TRE user group. So anyone that wants to learn more about Azure TRE, go and find the Azure TRE user group. I created it. So if you find me and connect with me, you'll be able to connect in that group as well and look at some of the really cool things that that's doing and what we'll be doing with it in the next few years.
Perfect. Well, there we go. Martin, thank you ever so much. Been really good to talk to you. All the best for the future. I'm sure we're going to see some great things.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. Really nice to talk to you too.
And you.